Welcome to Garden of Lights. I'm Susan Howington, Family Consumer Science Agent with the Henry County Cooperative Extension, partnership with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. Today we're going to talk about cabbage, and you'll hear from Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent. He's going to show you that wonderful garden he's got out there for the fall garden, and you'll get to see some of that cabbage that we have also here in the show. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden of Lights. Welcome back to Garden of Lights. Today we're going to be talking about cabbage. We're also going to make a cabbage soup that is just wonderful. I'm telling you, it's going to be wonderful. But let's talk about cabbage, which is one of my favorites as far as pretty much all year round. But the time of the season is important because when cabbage is coming in, that's when it's going to be the best at the grocery store. And also in the fall garden that you'll see that Frank has, you'll see this wonderful cabbage that I actually got out of that community garden. And so let's just talk about this. It is so good for you. It is saturated fat-free, cholesterol-free, low in sodium. It is wonderful in vitamin C, K. Not only that, but you're going to get a lot of good fiber from it too. So just eating this. So this is to me a large head of cabbage. And you can see this is a wonderful sized cabbage right here. And this is a large one. So about a large cabbage, so if you wanted to eat this whole cabbage, about 300 plus calories, that's it for this whole cabbage. Now medium one's going to be a little bit less, about 218, but you can see cabbage is so good for you because you're not going to get a whole lot of calories, but you're going to get good nutrients from it. Now when you're selecting that cabbage, whether it's picking it at your garden or at the grocery store, you do want to make sure that the leaves look intact, they're dark green, and then you also want to pick it up and fill it if you're at the grocery store. Make sure it's heavy because that tells you the leaves have formed really well. It's compact, and so you're looking for that too. In your garden, you want to make sure your head is formed and you can put your hands around it and feel that part of it. So when you're selecting it, make sure that you're looking for that because you want to be compact because you're going to get a lot more from that cabbage if it's compact. Now as far as storing it, once you pick that cabbage or you bring it home from the grocery store, it does need to go in your refrigerator. And it'll stay whole in your refrigerator for about 7 days. If you're going to cut it, which we're going to be making cabbage soup, so for the soup you only need half of a cabbage. So once you cut the cabbage, you need to keep it in the refrigerator and on the average about 2 days after you cut it. And you do want to store this cabbage in some type of plastic bag. And of course, once you get ready to eat the cabbage, you must wash it. So we want to make sure that you're looking for all those when you're looking for that best head of cabbage. So when we come back, you're going to hear from Frank and he's going to show you all that wonderful fall garden that's growing out there in the community gardens. And then we'll be making that cabbage soup. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden of Lights.
Okay, today I thought we'd come back up here to the community garden here in Heritage Park. If you remember last time we were up here, we were cleaning out beds and taking soil samples and getting ready to plant the fall garden. And now we're harvesting some out of the fall garden, so I thought we'd just revisit it, show you a little bit about what's going on. Today I think Susan is working on some cabbage. And so this is a cabbage patch right here. In fact, I think she may have stolen one of these cabbages out of here to do what she's doing today. But you can see a lot of progress here from the last time that the cabbage is heading up and it's looking really good. In addition to that, we've got some nice head broccoli. We've got some stir-fry broccoli growing now. We got kale that's ready to harvest. Cauliflower's looking good. You know, there's just a lot of fall vegetables here, a lot of greens and things that that we can take care of. In our garden, we practice a little bit of weed suppression. We don't try to get rid of every single weed. We're not trying to exterminate weeds, and we don't spray anything in this garden to do any weed control. So our main tool that we use then is our hoe, and we've talked about the hoe in the past to give us a good means of taking care of these beds. This particular hoe that I've got right here is one that's been used by a master hoe operator. You can tell the difference because if you see in here where your hand would go, the handle is worn down. So if you use your hoe a lot, you can, the calluses that you develop on your hand actually will wear the wood away, and the handle will start to thin out. The blade wears down and gets real thin so that it's real sharp. It's able to cut the weeds out as you go along, and so there's a lot of difference in a professional hoe user and somebody that dreads going out and using the hoe. So, but the hoe is the best thing to deal with the weeds. Now, I said we deal in weed suppression, so we get the weeds out of the garden before we plant. And in this case, in the fall garden, a lot of henbit is growing up in here, but it's not bothering us. So while it may look like weeds, the cabbage is heading up and we're harvesting cabbage, and we don't really care about the henbit. Now, if the henbit starts to get ahead of us a little bit, then we will take the hoe and we'll start removing a little bit of this henbit just to keep it from totally overrunning us, and we'll just take some of these weeds out. And it's very easy to do. You don't have to break your back to remove it. Now, I've been trying to figure out, and I can't find any information, but of whether you're right-handed or left-handed hoe user. Now, I tend to use my left hand in the front, and I don't know why that is. Now, playing baseball, I always bat left-handed, and that could be why my left hand goes in front. Other people will use it, put their right hand in the front. I've seen right-handed people use it left-handed, and left-handed people use it right-handed. So I haven't broken the code on that yet, but somewhere along the way we're going to discover. The internet doesn't know anything about it. I tried to figure out what's the difference in a right and a left-handed hoe user. Maybe it depends on which side of the row you're working on as to which way you hold it, but that's something that we're yet to discover about the hoe. But anyway, the most important tool that you have in the garden, and we've done little dissertations on it before, so we won't spend any more time on it, but this is a hoe that has been used a lot, and it's been used by somebody who knew how to use a hoe. In fact, they were proud of it. They even put their initials in the handle right here so nobody would mess with their hoe, and they kept up with the same hoe. So that's how we keep up with our weeds. We get ahead of them. You'll see in our broccoli patches up here, the broccoli's grown tall. The weeds can't do anything to bother it. And there are a few weeds up underneath, mostly the winter type henbit and that sort of thing. So that's what we do there. And like I said, we just need to look around. We've got some nice kale growing in the garden here, some cabbages, we got some lettuce. It's working really well, and the folks that garden here, they're harvesting a lot of greens for the winter here. And talking about the hoe and using it for weed control and the organic weed control, I thought I'd tell you a little story about the hoe. For time untold, the search has been on to find a better tool. To keep the garden spick and span, organic is the rule. The weeds we fight, they have no right to conquer what we grow, but still they persist and seem to resist every solution that we know. Herbicides, they can burn our eyes, though some work very well, but weeds are smart and can evolve to withstand and refuse all efforts to expel. We employ the use of gasoline and oil to build machines that till the soil, but engines make fumes and create issues that make our temper boil. The ropes will break, the twine will fray, and the primer bulbs will split. The weeds there always seem to win and make us want to quit. To move ahead, we must look back to find this useful invention. It's lightweight, requires no poison, no gas, no oil, and creates no tension. It lays off roads and builds up hills, and weeds, they have no chance. Too good to be true, you might exclaim, at least at the first glance. A walking stick that moves off snakes and eliminates the bad ones. You keep it with you all the time, and gardening now is fun. So what is this that creates for us this healthy, organic environment? I'm sure you know it's called a hoe, and it should never be in retirement. And that's about all we wanted to talk about today, was just the fall garden and getting it planted early. This is so it comes in before it gets up, and it's like the cabbage is headed out just ahead of the killing freeze. We've had a couple of killing freezes now, but the cabbage was starting to head up before that happened, because we got started back in August and September with our gardening. So we'll harvest it now, and then some of these greens are going to grow on through the winter, and they'll come back out in the springtime. We'll harvest in the spring. Then when the weather starts to warm up, you'll see some of these plants start to go to head. They'll run up a shoot and have seeds on it. And at that point is when we're ready to take all that out, clean the beds up, and get ready to plant tomatoes and squash and those things that we plant in the summertime. And I think now we're going to go inside and see what Susan did with this head of cabbage that I'm missing right here.
Welcome back to Garden Delights. I know you thought that garden is just absolutely beautiful with all those vegetables growing in it, and I was so excited that we could get the cabbage out of that garden just to make my cabbage soup. So we are excited about putting this together, and it is so tasty. You're going to love it, and it's so easy. So the first thing you're going to need to do, and I'm just going to kind of go through the steps, you're going to put some olive oil, about a tablespoon, into your pot, and you're going to get it heated up, and then you're going to add about a medium-sized diced up onion. So you're going to put that in. And if you don't like onion, you can do less onion, or you can leave it out, but I love onion, so it's going to be in there for sure in my soup. The other thing you're going to add is about 4 stalks of diced up celery. So you're going to add that. And the next thing you're going to add, this is about 4 carrots, and of course they've been diced up also, and I did try to cut them pretty thin because I don't want them to take forever to cook also. So you're going to put all this into that bowl, in the container, and what you're going to do is you're going to saute this, and I'm just going to mix it up so the oil can get on it, because that's what I'm going to end up doing, is sauteing this. So you're going to saute the onions, the celery, and the carrots, and you're going to saute them until they're tender. So you want to make sure they're tender. You don't want them to be raw. You want it to be cooked a little bit. So once you have done that, you're going to add about 2 cloves of minced garlic. So you're going to add that to it also. So we're going to add that to the pot. And after that, you're going to cook this, get it to that saute look, soft looking vegetables in there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add about a 28 ounce, somewhere in that range, of Italian stewed or diced up tomatoes. So that's what's in here, and I'm going to wait to add that. And then you're also going to add some turkey sausage, and this is a very thin slice, and it's not a lot, so you could, if you want to substitute something else, you could. So this is kind of a low fat. We're trying to keep it healthy for you. And then also at the very end of that, you're going to add just a little bit of smoked paprika. And you're going to do a little bit of basil and a little bit of oregano. And it's about a half a teaspoon of all three of those. And you'll add that to the mixture too. And then once you kind of get that going, you're going to add the cabbage. So I mentioned earlier, this is a large cabbage head. And so what I want to do is cut this cabbage head in half, because we're only going to use for this recipe, we're only going to use half of this cabbage head. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half. And I washed it up and it's drained pretty well. And what I like to do is I'm going to cut it up into bite sizes, because when I eat my soup, I want it to be bite sized so I can really eat it really well on the spoon. So I'm just going to kind of dice it down the center like this. And when I get to that core, I'm going to kind of hold off just a little bit and do half of it at a time. So what you're going to do, and this is just the way I like to do it, I'm going to still save that good green leaf. And I just like to come across. I just kind of hold it, come across. And as you can see, these are going to be nice bite-sized pieces. So what you're looking for is pieces like this. So when you cook it, it's going to cook down also. So that's one good thing about cabbage, is you start off and you think, oh, this is a lot. But once it hits that liquid, you're not going to have near as much. So what you want to do is just to cut the cabbage, and I want to make sure I get this nice green leaf also mixed in with it too. So what I'm going to do is I want to avoid getting that core part in there, because that's not going to be anything good to eat. So I'm just going to kind of cut around that part of it, and I'm going to dice the rest of it. So I just kind of come down, and it's really no way you have to do it. This is just the preference that I like to do. So I'm just going to keep cutting this like so, and then I'm going to just kind of turn it just a little bit and go ahead and cut it again, so I have bite-sized pieces. And so once you have your cabbage, and this is like I said, this is half of a cabbage head. So you can see this is a lot of cabbage. And so if you're going to, you could cook 2 of these if you wanted to. 2 soups. If you had a friend you want to take some soup over, what a wonderful idea to take some cabbage soup. So this is half that cabbage head, and you can see that's a pretty big size left. So you could shred it, make slaw, you could, boil it if you wanted to, chop it, whatever you want to do to make this cabbage even taste even better later. But just remember, once you cut it, it'll only stay in you need to put it in the refrigerator in a bag, maybe about 2 days, and then hope you decided what you want to cook with it. So what you'll do is I've already added all these ingredients after I've sauteed, and then I'm going to pick this cabbage up and I'm going to put it into the pot. And then the recipe is going to tell you need about 6 cups of some type of chicken broth, whatever your favorite is, and you're going to add it to the pot also. So about 6 cups of that. And then you're going to cook this cabbage soup until the cabbage becomes tender. You don't want to overcook it. You don't want it real soggy. You still want to have a little bit of look to it when you're looking into the pot. And once you've done that, the soup is ready to go. It's ready to eat, and it is so tasty. It has a little twist of Italian to it. It's really, really good. The broth adds to it. And then also, if you want to, you can add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper to taste too, if you would like to. And I'm going to add pepper over my salt always. So as you can see, this is going to be so good. And when Frank comes back, we're going to taste this cabbage soup. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Lights. Well, Frank, I'm glad you came in from the garden, because
I am too.
The soup is smelling really, really good.
It does.
So let me get you some. Oh, it smells so good. I can't wait. There we go.
All
And
right.
make sure it's not too hot that it burns your mouth.
It feels a little hot.
Yep. Just make sure. Is it too hot?
That's okay. The bowl's hot, but
The bowl is hot. Not too bad though.
that's good.
That is really, really good. I mean, when it's cold weather, looking for something hearty to eat, cabbage soup is just what you need.
I highly recommend it. I may put my cabbage soup on this plate because that bowl is hot.
That is really, really good. And just think, this cabbage is locally grown.
I noticed there was one missing.
Mm-hmm. You know where it came from.
Yep.
Right here for this show.
That's good.
It's really, really good. Really good. Cabbage is just right. Got a little tender to it, but not too soggy. Really good. So you need to check out the website. You'll want this recipe for cabbage soup. And Frank and I will see you next time on Garden Delights.
I think we should do this again.
I do too.
On a cold day.
On a cold day. You got that right.